I'm 32, and this is the story of how silence became my greatest weapon. To outsiders, I looked like the quiet boyfriend, the man in the background, the one carrying bags while she shined. Her name was Amanda. She was bold, loud, and everyone believed she was independent. But the truth? Every bill, every login, every piece of her so-called freedom ran through me. At first I didn't mind. I loved her. I thought supporting her made us stronger. I handled the finances, paid the rent on time, tracked the accounts, managed everything behind the scenes. She called herself successful, but she never realized I was the one holding the net beneath her. Her friends mocked me. He's too quiet. He just follows her around. Amanda laughed with them. Then one night, she said the words that burned into my memory. He's weak. He won't fight back. That's when the switch flipped. I stayed quiet, but I started watching. She bragged about independence, yet couldn't pay a bill without me. She planned vacations, but I booked every ticket and hotel. She bought designer clothes, but I moved money to cover the charges. I wasn't weak. I was the system she depended on. The more she mocked, the more I controlled. I memorized passwords. I managed subscriptions. I tracked accounts she didn't even know existed. She thought I was boring, passive, forgettable. But I wasn't. I was invisible. And invisible power is the strongest kind. What she didn't realize was that silence is not weakness. Silence is patience, and patience lets you choose the perfect moment to show the truth. The night she called me weak, I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I let the words hang in the air like smoke. She thought silence proved her right. But in that silence, I decided exactly how this story would end. Amanda was obsessed with appearances. Her social media was curated perfection. Photos in restaurants I booked, trips I paid for, clothes bought with cards I managed. She called herself self-made. She told her friends she was independent. And they believed her because I never corrected them. Why would I? Power grows stronger in the shadows. Every login ran through me. Bank accounts, credit cards, utilities, even the streaming services she bragged about. She lived in a house of glass, and I held the keys to every lock. But she never noticed. She never asked how bills were paid, never checked where the money came from. She was too busy showing off, too busy convincing the world she was untouchable. Her arrogance grew louder. She mocked me in front of her friends. "He's quiet but harmless," she'd laugh, sipping drinks I bought with cards she couldn't even access. They joined in, calling me boring, soft, replaceable. Amanda would smirk and agree. Every time it stung. But every time I reminded myself of the truth. She was standing on a stage I built. Without me, the lights would go out. I never told her no. I never pushed back. When she wanted a new car, I found the financing. When she wanted designer shoes, I shifted balances so she wouldn't max out her card. When she demanded vacations, I found flight deals, booked hotels, planned the entire trip. She thought it proved she was powerful. She didn't realize she was proving she couldn't survive without me. This wasn't weakness. This was control. Quiet, invisible control. The kind that doesn't need to be announced. One night I overheard her again. She was drunk, surrounded by friends, bragging. "He's weak. He won't fight back. I could leave him tomorrow and he'd beg me to stay." They laughed. She believed every word. That's when I knew. This wasn't just arrogance. This was a game to her. She wanted to see how far she could push before I broke. But I wasn't going to break. I was going to wait. I kept quiet. I kept paying. I kept controlling every account, every login, every password. And the more she underestimated me, the sharper my plan became. Because revenge isn't about shouting. Revenge isn't about threats. It's about truth, revealed at the perfect time. And when the time came, Amanda would learn that the man she called weak had been holding her entire life in his hands. The deeper we went into that relationship, the more she relied on me without realizing it. Bills, accounts, passwords. It was all me. I handled her car insurance, her credit cards, even her rent. When she wanted to move into a bigger apartment, I was the one who read the lease, signed the forms, and transferred the deposits. She just showed up with boxes and bragged to her friends about how independent she was. Her independence was a performance. And I was the stage crew making it possible. The sad part? She didn't even see me anymore. To her, I was background noise, a placeholder, someone she assumed would always be there, silent, dependable, invisible. That's what arrogance does. It blinds people. It makes them believe they're untouchable. Amanda loved telling people I was quiet, weak, harmless. She painted herself as the strong one, the fighter, the one in control. Her friends bought the story. They laughed when she called me boring. They nodded when she said I'd never fight back. And I let them believe it, because silence is misread by people like her. They think silence means fear. They think patience means weakness. They think being invisible means powerless. But the truth? Silence is the strongest weapon when you know exactly what you're waiting for. Amanda never looked past the surface. She never noticed how every single bill was tied to my name. She never questioned how she could walk into any store, swipe her card, and never see the stress of a declined transaction. She never wondered who set up her phone plan, who kept her streaming services active, who made sure her car loan didn't default. She thought she had built her life, when in reality, I had built it around her, and then she started to push further. It wasn't just mockery in private anymore. She started using me as the punchline in public. At dinners, in front of her friends, she'd roll her eyes when I spoke. "He doesn't get it," she'd say, dismissing me like I was a child. Sometimes she'd cut me off mid-sentence and tell everyone, "Don't mind him, he's shy." The worst part was the smirk that followed. The smirk that told me she thought she'd won something, but she didn't know the truth. She didn't know that while she mocked me for being boring, I was memorizing her weaknesses. She didn't know that while she called me weak, I was quietly holding every thread of her life in my hands. And when someone thinks you're weak, when they're convinced you'll never fight back, they never see the moment coming when everything shifts. That moment was getting closer. The day came quietly. No warning, no arguments. Just a moment of truth she couldn't run from. It started when her card declined. Small, simple, humiliating. She stood at the counter of her favorite boutique, arms full of clothes she didn't need, smile already rehearsed for the mirror. And then the cashier's voice cut through her fantasy. "I'm sorry, it's not going through." Amanda froze. She tried again. Declined. She laughed it off, called it a glitch, pulled out another card. Declined. The smirk vanished. The room saw what I had known for months. She wasn't in control. She called me, furious, her voice sharp, trembling. "What did you do?" "Fix this now." But I didn't rush. I didn't argue. I just said, "Check your accounts." Silence. Then panic. Then rage. She logged in, and for the first time she saw the truth. Every account tied to me. Every password set by me. Every dollar moved through me. She had lived in a house I built, and I had just turned off the lights. She screamed, demanded answers. She accused me of betrayal. But betrayal? No. The betrayal had always been hers. The lies, the mockery, the arrogance, that was her betrayal. What I did wasn't betrayal. It was exposure. For years she had told her friends I was weak, that I wouldn't fight back, that I was too quiet to matter. But in one night, her world collapsed. The rent she bragged about paying, my account, the car she loved to pose with, financed under my name, the lifestyle she flaunted online, funded by the man she laughed at behind closed doors. She went from arrogant to broken in a single breath. She begged. The same mouth that had mocked me pleaded for help. She promised change. She swore she'd never disrespect me again. But her words meant nothing. Words had always been her weapon. Mine was silence, and silence had already destroyed her. Friends called. They asked what happened. They wanted to know how Amanda, the independent queen, had lost everything overnight. I didn't explain. I didn't post. I didn't brag. I stayed quiet. Because real revenge doesn't need an audience. Real revenge is watching the person who called you weak realize you were the strongest one in the room all along. She tried to fight back. Of course she did. Arrogance doesn't surrender easily. She called the bank, demanded her name be restored, shouted at employees who only told her what she already knew. She wasn't the owner. She was an authorized user, nothing more. She had never been in control. The panic grew. Bills she ignored piled up. Rent bounced. Subscriptions vanished. Even her phone plan, the lifeline she used to brag, gossip, and mock, was under my name. One click and her voice went silent. Her friends noticed first. The ones who used to cheer when she called me weak now whispered behind her back. Screenshots leaked. She's broke. She lied. He was the one paying. Her kingdom of arrogance crumbled in group chats she couldn't access anymore. The mask she wore online cracked. No more dinners to photograph. No more vacations to flaunt. No more designer bags to pose with. She tried posting old pictures, pretending nothing had changed, but even her followers noticed. The comments turned sharp. Didn't you say you were independent? Where's that boyfriend you mocked? Guess he wasn't so weak after all. Her silence online was louder than her arrogance ever was. And I didn't lift a finger. I just watched. She showed up at my door one night, mascara smeared, voice shaking. She wasn't the queen anymore. She wasn't the fighter she pretended to be. She was desperate. Please, she whispered. I need help. I can't do this without you. The same woman who told her friends I was weak was now begging the man she had ridiculed to save her. That was the moment she realized. Silence had been power all along, but I didn't let her back in. Because revenge isn't about destruction. It's about revelation. It's about showing someone the truth they've hidden from for too long. Amanda finally saw it. She had never been in control, and she never would be again. Her arrogance didn't die in one night. Pride resists death. It claws, it fights, it screams before it breaks. Amanda wasn't any different. After the cards failed, after the rent bounced, she called lawyers. She thought legal power would undo what silence had built. She sat in polished offices, voice sharp, listing her demands. They listened. They read the contracts, and then they told her the truth. Everything was mine. My name, my signature, my ownership. She was a shadow, nothing more. She stormed out, furious, slamming doors that wouldn't open for her again. Next, she called her family. The same family she had boasted to, the ones she told she didn't need anyone, that she was strong, independent, unstoppable. Now she begged them for money, for help, for shelter. But arrogance has a price. They remembered her words. They remembered the pride. They gave her sympathy, not solutions. Pity, not power. And when the people you used to impress begin to pity you, the fall becomes unbearable. She tried friends next. But friends are loyal to strength, not weakness. The ones who once laughed with her now avoided her calls. Nobody wanted to be dragged down with her. Screenshots of her desperation started circulating. Texts begging for small amounts, cries for help, exposed, ridiculed, mocked. The same audience that once clapped for her arrogance now cheered her collapse. Amanda was learning what she had always refused to believe. When everything you have is borrowed, the one who lent it controls you. And she had borrowed her entire life from me. Her online persona shattered. The curated independence, the fabricated success, the lies. It all crumbled. Every post became a reminder of the life she lost. She scrolled through old photos, trying to find comfort in them. But every smile, every trip, every bag, every glass of wine was proof. Proof that I had given her everything. Proof that she had mocked the man who held her entire world. And then came the breaking point. She came back, not dressed for war this time, but defeat. No makeup, no jewelry, no arrogance left in her voice. She sat across from me, eyes hollow, hands trembling. I can't do this, she whispered. I don't know how to live without you. That was the confession. That was the moment the silence paid off. She admitted it. She couldn't survive without the man she once called weak. And I didn't need to shout, didn't need to gloat, didn't need to hurt her further. The truth had done the work for me. Silence had been my weapon, patience my shield, control my victory. Amanda was broken, and I hadn't lifted a hand. Amanda's collapse wasn't loud. It was quiet, stretched over weeks, then months. Pride doesn't fall in an instant. It erodes, slowly, painfully, layer by layer. She stopped posting online. The daily curated updates vanished. No more luxury shots, no more perfect captions. Silence replaced arrogance. Her followers noticed. They asked questions. Some mocked. Some speculated, but Amanda never answered. Because she couldn't. What was she supposed to say? That the man she called weak controlled everything she relied on? That the man she mocked as powerless had ended her carefully built illusion with one silent move? Pride doesn't confess defeat. It hides until there's nothing left to hide behind. She moved from borrowed apartments to borrowed couches. Friends who once envied her now pitied her. Pity is poison to someone who once thrived on admiration. Every "Are you okay?" was another knife. Every whispered, "What happened to her?" cut deeper. She stopped going out. She avoided gatherings. The queen who had once owned the room now couldn't even stand being in one. The final traces of her arrogance faded when her family turned cold. They had given her chances, offered sympathy, but Amanda wasn't used to humility. She begged, demanded, cried, lashed out. They grew tired. The same parents who once called her brilliant stopped answering her calls. Siblings who once envied her cut ties. She was no longer the shining star. She was the cautionary tale. The lawyers never came back with solutions. The banks never reinstated her control. Every letter, every call, every meeting ended the same way. "It's not yours. It's his." That truth haunted her. Every card swipe denied. Every account locked. Every luxury she once took for granted gone. And worse, every reminder pointed back to me. Her arrogance had fed on my silence. Her downfall was written in her own words. I remembered what she told her friends. "He's weak. He won't fight back. But weakness is an illusion. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is patience. And patience turns into power when arrogance forgets it exists." Amanda had built her world on borrowed strength. Mine. And when I stopped carrying it, the world she lived in collapsed. She thought control meant speaking louder, laughing harder, mocking deeper. But control is quiet. Real control doesn't announce itself. It waits, it holds, and then it crushes without ever raising its voice. I never shouted. I never cursed. I never fought back with words. My silence was the fight. My patience was the strike. And Amanda never saw it coming. She tried to crawl back. Weeks later, she showed up again. Not the Amanda I once knew. No fire in her eyes, no sharp words, no cruel laugh. Just emptiness. She whispered apologies, promises, pleas. But apologies made after destruction aren't apologies. They're survival tactics. She didn't regret what she said. She regretted losing everything. And there's a difference. I didn't need to answer. My silence was the answer. She cried. She shouted. She begged. But silence drowned it all. She left again, broken. And this time, she didn't come back. News trickled in through whispers. Amanda drifted from one couch to another, one job to another. The queen who once ruled with arrogance now struggled with basics. No money, no stability, no audience. She faded. Slowly, she disappeared. But this wasn't about her anymore. This was about me. About what silence taught me. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is strategy. In relationships poisoned by arrogance, words don't win. Rage doesn't win. Only patience wins. Let arrogance talk. Let betrayal boast. Let them laugh, mock, dismiss. Wait. Hold. Build your strength in silence. When the moment comes, you won't need to fight. The truth will fight for you. Amanda learned that truth too late. By the time she realized silence was stronger than her arrogance, it was already over. Her pride was gone. Her world was gone. And I was free. Free from her games. Free from her words. Free from her shadow. Silence gave me what shouting never could. Peace. Because in the end, revenge isn't fire. It isn't noise. It isn't chaos. Revenge is silence. Silence that waits. Silence that holds. Silence that lets arrogance destroy itself. And when the silence is finally broken, it isn't by words, it's by the sound of pride collapsing. Amanda's story isn't just hers. It's a warning to every arrogant partner who believes control is cruelty, who believes mocking the quiet ones proves strength. Remember this. The quiet ones are watching. The quiet ones are waiting. And when they don't move with noise. They move with silence, and silence is louder than anything arrogance can scream. That was Amanda's downfall. And that was my freedom.